listening to Heroes Initiative.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Heroes Initiative podcast for season 2. I am one of your hosts, Natalie Arias.
And I'm Becca Scheffler, your other host.
And we are coming to you live from, actually, I don't know if I'm going to tell you where we are, but we're in Atlanta. So this is where the BCM at Georgia Tech is located, and we are here to share some really awesome stories that we have from our 2 Send Me Now summer missionaries. You guys want to go ahead and introduce yourselves?
I'm Sean Cott, third year CS major.
I'm Laurel. I'm a fourth year EAS major.
Exciting stuff, isn't it? And we are so excited and just ready to get into these questions, but also just get to know how God has really and truly moved in Sean and Laurel's lives. So I'll just open up with the basic question. Where'd you guys go this summer?
I went to Alaska, particularly. There was a lot of places in Alaska. Went to Kodiak, Anchorage, Juneau, Valdez, Fairbanks. Yep.
And I went to Camp Pinnacle in Raymond County, Georgia.
That sounds like super cool. So I'm going to kind of ask like a quick little intro. So what was your favorite thing about the trip, and what was your least favorite thing about the trip?
Let's see. I think I'll start with my least favorite. My least favorite thing about the trip was it was very hot and we worked long hours outside, but that kind of coincides with the best part of the trip, which was the people, the fellowship, and just being able to serve.
Yeah, I'd probably say the best part about the trip was there was 17 other people that were there, or 17 of us total, so 16 other people, and that was my favorite part of the trip. Just talking with them. There's a lot of different people, a lot of people unlike me, one other person who was like me pretty much, so I really enjoyed that. My least favorite part of the trip was probably got much less sleep than I might have ideally liked. So
how did getting to like experience all these different people with different backgrounds I guess change the way that you viewed mission trips as a whole? Because I guess I've never been on a mission trip before, but when I think of that, I think of just people who are kind of like-minded, they're all here for a purpose, to serve God's kingdom in a way that also helps other people. But how did you guys see that flesh out in your different trips?
Yeah, it was before the trip, a whole mission trip idea was honestly like a little more elusive and far off. Like, I'm going to like go on this mission trip and it's going to be some like dedicated thing that's like only for a certain subset of people. And I'd say pretty much what I learned about mission trips in general is that they're actually just like, they're for everyone. And it's not necessarily different from always living your life for God. It shouldn't be that like a summer that you go on the mission trip that's the summer that you gave to the Lord. But it is also a highly specific time where often you get a lot of time and focus to do specific ministry work, and then oftentimes that leads to a lot of time of thinking and talking about ministry work. And so especially for someone who might work and not go on mission trips, it can often be very good for that purpose, and especially in the short-term ones, or not full-time, like going to a different place and doing ministry work, I guess, as your career. It can be good for that aspect to bring you out of what you're doing.
I think for me, it really showed kind of a real-life example of 1 Corinthians 12, where he's talking about each part of the body of Christ has a different purpose. And it was really cool to see in that week how we all came together, because there was a lot of construction type things, and that's something I'm not super hands-on with. And so I got to learn a lot there. And so that was something that I personally took away, but also used to give back. But there were other people there that had done some sort of shop, and like they were able to kind of use that to teach other people how to help use these tools just to fix a prayer garden and things like that. And there were others of us that were better at holding conversations and just teaching each other how to evangelize better, those types of things. It was just cool to see it all work together and do it for the glory of God.
That's like so good to hear. Just curious, what was like one like God moment, like kind of your like where you really saw God work on these trips?
I'm gonna start with this one. There was a night, I think it was Thursday night, we went to a church that hosted a Spanish speaking church. They were in the same building, and they were singing in Spanish, and then suddenly they started singing How Great Thou Art. And so we all kind of heard the tune, because I don't know about y'all, but it's a pretty familiar hymn to me. And so we started singing in English, and they started singing in Spanish, and it was a beautiful picture of, what heaven's going to be like one day, where we're all God's children just praising him as one. And that was a really cool moment where language wasn't a barrier. We were just all praising God.
Well, I would say it was really cool sometimes to see like how God has kind of sovereignly arranged stuff. There was one time where we were hiking up a mountain, and that was kind of like our weekly free thing that we would do is go on hikes and go on walks, because Alaska is very beautiful in that way. And me and the other guy who was more like me, kind of more analytical, like I guess kind of straightforward thinking like person, and we were both walking up, and we met another guy, and we started having a conversation with him, and he was a philosophy. He graduated with his philosophy master's degree. And it was kind of interesting because, man, I love talking about philosophy, and I love talking about all of that. And so did the other guy who was with me from our team. And we got to have a great conversation right there. We were talking essentially about the gospel, about his beliefs, about our beliefs. And it just seemed cool that like God had arranged that the two people, me and the other guy, that love to talk about that would be in our free time hiking up this mountain with a guy who also wasn't from Alaska. He had drove up there, and got to have that conversation on the top of a mountain with him as we were climbing up and going down. And probably a conversation that us, out of all the other people on our team, would have enjoyed to have and perhaps were more equipped for than everyone else on the team. Met him, talked to him, out of all the other people on that mountain who could have talked about anything else. And so just kind of cool. Like, I mean, as you were saying, like God, has gifted the body of believers, and seeing that play out, and just for me, seeing like, okay, like I was there in my free time, and now I get to see how God, I would say kind of had ordained that moment in time even.
That is so exciting to hear. This is extremely encouraging too, like that even those moments, although they're happening in just different parts of, the state and, this country, that we're able to still continue that mindset even as we come back to our trips. So you guys went on your mission trips for different lengths of time. Laurel, you were there for about a week at Camp Pinnacle, and Sean, you went for practically the entire summer. So would you guys want to do a trip that was longer or shorter for you guys respectively, or would that be something that that length of time you would recommend to somebody else? Or does it all depend really on where you guys go and what the purpose of the trip is?
It definitely depends on the purpose of the trip. For us, a week was about right. What we were doing is we were preparing Camp Pinnacle for the campers to come in the next few weeks. And so there were just some last minute repairs, some landscaping and things that needed to be the final touches. But I think, and I'm sure Sean will speak more on his trip, but it seemed like it was more of going to different Bible VBS camps and evangelizing more. Not that we didn't evangelize, but we went specifically to help with upkeep and rebuilding at Camp Pinnacle. So it depends on the trip, but whatever amount of time you can give up of your summer to serve to God is well worth it. And I'm really glad that I did, even though it was just for a week.
Yeah, I would say like the trips are very well suited to what they're doing. And in that, if you have the opportunity to go for a full summer, I feel it's very valuable, because some of the benefits of the longer you would go is that after the first week and after you've been there for a while, you start to kind of get more comfortable, and that's where you see that's where you start to see yourself really start to develop, I think, in that regard. And also you get back from the mission trip, you get back from a full summer, and then your life, you kind of have differences in how you used to do things or what you used to think about, and then because it was for a long period of time, you get to translate that. So I would say if you get to do a full summer, if you get to do 6 months, I know there's some 6 month ones out there like through the IMB, do it. If you get to do a week, go for a week, whatever time you can, go for it.
Thanks for listening to Heroes Initiative.